Hello, my new video. Today we're going to take a look at the next event in Pokemon Go, Adventure Week taken over. We're going to have here now a Shadow Raid event again with the Shadow Lugia. We're going to have a new Shadow Pokemon, Cresselia. I don't know. Everybody expected Rayquaza, but I guess Niantic is going to try to keep this Pokemon for a future event, which is fine. Here, of course, graphics from Galax. Literally, link always in the description, check them out on Twitter. Best graphics, what you can see here right now is when the event is. It's going to be from the 8th of August from 12 AM, so from midnight till the 12th of August, until midnight basically, and as well for the next day. So definitely going to be cool for like 4 days. We're going to have more rocket encounters. We're going to have 3 new other Shadow Pokemon other than Cresselia. We're going to have new lineups for those leader and grunts. You can finally remove frustration again from Pokemon, one of the most commonly used question in my comment section. But yeah, you can then remove frustration, which is really important. We want to have some nice raids here as well. We want to have some research for also charge TMs, which is going to be cool. Shadow showcases, which are going to be quite interesting. And yeah, new Shadow Pokemon here we're going to see already. It's going to be Timber, it's going to be the Tortuga as well as the Archon. Wish it would be the other 2 fossils as well. Of course, for fossils, like it's a fossil week basically, we're going to have 2 new fossils plus also the Timber here, which is going to be interesting. But yeah, I wish that we had also Amura plus Tyrant as new shadows, but only 3 new shadows is also quite an interesting one. Some of the Pokemon that are rescued from Team Go Rocket can be shiny again. If they've been shiny already before and they're now in like the Rocket, normal Rocket grunts, they have a chance of being shiny again, which is kind of cool. And of course, new lineup for leaders and grunts, going to be interesting anyway. We're very likely going to have a video about a top Pokemon to encounter, or just in general, like the top new Shadow Pokemon to encounter for the Go Battle Leagues. So definitely feel free to subscribe to the channel when this video is gonna drop. Of course, it's gonna drop basically 1 day after the raids are on, or like the Shadow event is on, so we can see what kind of grunt lineups we have. Anyway, we move on to the first Pokemon that got the Shadow treatment, and that's going to be the most ideal, most interesting Pokemon of them all. It's going to be Cresselia, getting access to the Shadow bonus here, going to, of course, buff the attack and buff the attack by 20% and the defense by minus 20%. Cresselia is one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the game, and so usually for bulky Pokemon it does not make too much sense to drop the defense, because defense is basically the key for this Pokemon, or like for those Pokemon in general. And so for Cresselia, and mostly it doesn't make too much sense either. Does it? The thing is here is Cresselia has access to the fast move of Confusion. Confusion is a very hard-hitting fast move, and so kinda similar to Bastion, you might have some matchups now that you're all of a sudden going to be able to flip thanks to the fast move pressure. Generally speaking though, we actually see here for the Shadow bonus that you can beat Feraligatr, the normal variant, because of Grass not doing a little bit more damage. For the Shadow variant with Confusion, you actually have a few matchups that are a bit worse, I guess, but usually for the Confusion matchup, you're going to have a better matchup in the 2-shield scenario where you can dish out a little bit more damage with that fast move as well. But honestly, it does not seem to actually help too much, which I am very surprised about. If we're going to take a look here at the Matrix mode, where we're going to see a little bit more in depth what those Pokemon can do, we're going to see here that actually the Shadow bonus in the 1-shield scenario are going to drop you 9 wins, which is quite mad. While for the normal variant, it is definitely going to be a side grade, giving you actually options to even beat something like a Wigglytuff. We can even also change the default IVs to the maximum IVs, which is going to change the matchups a little bit more again. But yeah, basically there are going to be some matchups where you're definitely going to have a little bit of a benefit of having that Shadow version. Here, Wigglytuff, Vigoroth, and Feraligatr, all interesting matchups for sure to have the Shadow Cresselia for. Let's take a look at the 2-shield scenario and see how this is going to change it as well. Up here, we're going to see that the Shadow variant, again, going to be able to beat Wigglytuff, which is a very important matchup anyway, but generally is going to perform equally or kind of slightly worse to it. But honestly, for the people that are still missing that Cresselia for the Great League, it is going to be an option to get this Pokemon. It is going to play a little bit differently, but not to the point where it is going to impact you to the point where like it wouldn't be worth it to get it. So like if you still don't have a Cresselia for the Great League, get this one here right now. If you do already have a good one or whatever, maybe you can skip over it, or maybe you need it for the Ultra League. Ultra League going to be maybe even the most interesting one for this one. Giving it a little bit of a punch can help out in some matchups where it's not as just stuck as before. Which you're going to see as well against other Cresselias you can win. Against Jellicent, you're going to do more damage as well against. So there are some matchups that you can flip, but there are also some matchups that you're going to lose against it. So that is going to be quite interesting. Also, it is very interesting that apparently a Shadow variant with Confusion beats the Guzzlord, which the normal variant cannot do. So that's quite hilarious, but as you're going to see as well, Cresselia is going to again just be a little bit of a side grade, I would say. Like, it's not going to be a direct downgrade all of the time, but there's going to be better matchups, most likely for the normal Cresselia, sometimes just because of the superior bulk. If you want to take a look at the Ultra League here again, we're going to see that this Pokemon is going to have actually a better matchup as a Shadow variant, which is quite interesting. What you can see here as well for at least the Psycho Cut variant here. Shadow variant is going to be a little bit better, gaining you 2 extra wins, so there is a chance where the Shadow variant is a little bit better. But of course, in the 2-shield scenario, you're going to lose those 2 extra wins again, so it is very dependent on what kind of scenario you're in. I feel like if you want to run with Confusion, I would actually prefer the Shadow variant most likely, just to dish out a little bit more damage. And so when I'm going to showcase this Pokemon on this channel, I'm very likely going to take a look first at Confusion Cresselia, because I feel like this has quite a lot of play. And yeah, let's move on to the other Shadow Pokemon. Next up, we're going to have Thackery here, as well as Caracosta. For those, I'm only going to take a look at the Great League, as those Pokemon are usually not the greatest. Interesting typing actually for the current meta, but being weak to fighting is a little bit of a bummer there. We're going to see as well that you're going to be able to gain an hour matchup against here the Skarmory and here the Mandibuzz, and here also down there the Alone Sandslash, which you didn't have before, while here you lose against Sandslash, here you win against Gligar. So there are going to be some few matchups that are going to change. So if you really want to run your Turtles, this might be something as an upgrade for your Turtle squad. But generally speaking, again, it's not going to be the biggest upgrade or like anything that makes anything meta relevant. Rather, of course, go there for the Cresselia. Here in the 2-shield scenario, water gun damage definitely adds up a little bit more, giving you the edge over like 2 extra or like 3 extra matchups here for the Caracosta, but generally speaking, not the craziest upgrade. And now we're going to move on to Archon. Archon is going to be a very, very squishy Pokemon. Same goes for the evolution. They both have kind of the same stats, kind of the same move pool, so there's not going to be a big difference between what those Pokemon can do. Literally, it's the same, other than Gligar here, I guess, for the Archeops, for the normal variant that they can do. And yes, it's not going to be too impactful because the Pokemon itself is not too impactful. It's not going to be a great Pokemon at all. Moveset-wise, it's actually kind of fine. I think you have even some interesting coverage here with Crunch still, which I feel like might be an option over Ancient Power, but really depends on the meta that you're in. But yeah, again, this is going to be quite an interesting Pokemon here, as we are going to be able to move on now to the next one, which is going to be Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr, going to get also the Shadow treatment here, where it's very likely going to be a little bit of a better matchup for you. You see it already in the Great League, actually, you can beat something like a Mandibuzz, which is cool. So for sure, something that might have some impact. Also, you have some options for this Pokemon. You can run Dynamic Punch and Brutal Swing. What I like to run is actually Stone Edge. Stone Edge is going to give you some type coverage as well again. As Counter already does a lot of damage, you usually don't really need Dynamic Punch, and Stone Edge can give you some edge over like some flying type Pokemon, so might be kind of interesting. If we're going to compare it here, of course, Great League is not really Conkeldurr's main spot there. We're going to see it's kind of the same. Kind of does the same amount of stuff here, same amount of wins, just some different matchups. Here again, same amount of wins, some different matchups. But generally speaking, for also the Great League, the Shadow variant is going to be preferred. So I would recommend you for sure to try to hunt down Conkeldurr a bit more. Looking at the Ultra League, the Shadow matchup actually, or like the Shadow change here is going to help out quite a bit more, giving you quite a lot more matchups that you're going to be able to win. And if you compare it here as well, what you're going to see is that Steelix here in the 1-shield scenario is going to be, wait, that is wrong. This is going to be for a Great League variant, so mistakes been made by me here, but we can change it easily anyway. We're going to see here that Pidgeot as well as Poliwrath and the Version are going to be winning matchups. You lose against the Powder Snow variant of Alone Ninetales, but generally speaking, again, you're going to have a better matchup as a Shadow, which you see already with Pokemon like Machamp. That is also way better as a Shadow Pokemon and barely sees any play as a normal one. I guess also as a Shadow, you don't really see too much play. So for Conkeldurr, it's definitely something you want to pick up. For the Master League here, we're going to see as well what this Pokemon can do. Of course, Premier variant of this one is going to be the prime place for this Pokemon, but having actually access to the move Brutal Swing and going to allow you to beat something like Necrozma and Dawn Wings. So like those are going to be quite interesting matchups now. And let's take a look how this is going to be here. I have to change it again because I forgot about it. But yeah, it's not a Great League, it's a Master League variant now. And let's see how this is going to go. It is going to give you quite a lot more wins. Like honestly, like that is going to be quite a good one, especially the losses, Garchomp as well as Yveltal, you barely see them. But if you take a look at the wins here, against Kyogre twice, against Necrozma 4 times basically, this is going to be very important. So for sure something that I feel like is going to have some impact. So let me know in the comment section what you think about this event. Are you very disappointed about Rayquaza not being available here? Are you expected it? I don't know. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like and I'll see you then. Bye bye.